Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video and welcome to another POV video. We are in a different BMW this time. We are in my E46 M3. I'm actually out trying to find new spots for photography, just trying to get a bit of inspo. I recently got the Canon R6 and I wanted to test it out. And I thought, you know what, let me turn my GoPro on and update you on this car because I've been driving it around for almost a month now and I've not really mentioned it. Apart from on my Instagram, I've posted a few photos, but I've not really detailed exactly where we're up to with this car. So for those of you who are new to my channel or maybe missed the first video I made about this car, which was almost 8 months ago now. This is my E46 M3. It's a 2005 car. It is completely standard apart from teen lowering springs. Engine wise, all standard. It's on 104,000 miles and it's an SMG. I bought this car in, I think it was July of 2021. I managed to get it for really good money and I knew that the car needed a fair amount of TLC. We knew the Vanos needed to be done. We suspected that the bearings needed doing. And the Vanos has now been done. The bearings have not yet been done, and that's mostly because we've been struggling to get hold of some. We didn't really want to go down the route of replacing them with BMW OEM parts. We just thought it would make sense to go for an aftermarket product that's maybe a little stronger than OEM. And yeah, we've just not really had much luck. We found a found a company, the same company actually that provided the parts for the Vanos, and they've just gone a bit quiet on us. And I think it's because E46 is very popular again at the moment. Everybody is buying them as project cars and everybody is wanting to do the same things to be cautious, so there is a bit of a back order. That's what we were told before Christmas, but we've not really had much luck getting through to them this year, so fingers crossed we'll get an update soon. Otherwise I'm going to have to start looking elsewhere. But I was keen to get the car back out on the road so that I could start driving it, because since buying it in July it's been in the garage up until kind of mid-January. It's just been in the garage having various bits done, and as much as that's been a good thing because I've not had to worry about storage for this, it did mean that I had the car for about 2 weeks and then it went into the garage. So since having it back, I've been driving it everywhere. I've been kind of making up reasons to just pop out or, you know, take it to Cafe in a Machine like I did this morning, which was really, really cool. And although the car is imperfect, it still drives incredibly well. It corners really nicely. Yeah, it's just a great car to drive. There's plenty of videos about E46 M3s on YouTube, and if you're watching this, the likeliness is you may have watched some of those, so I don't want to repeat myself, but yeah, it's just great. Now this car is a weird one, because when I bought the car it needed work, and the way that the car was sold to me was that it needed some work and that it was a bit of a down and out car, to be honest. It was either it becomes someone's project or it would probably just go off to scrap, or maybe just be, you know, used and abused as a daily, or maybe not a daily, but you know, someone who just might not have appreciated it for what it is. And since I've had the car, we've found things that are definitely wrong. There are a few spots of rust around the car. The gear stick is missing half the chrome, which I do have another coming. It's just taken bloody ages. But there is rust around the car. But structurally, it's a very, you know, it's a real straight car. There's no rust underneath. Obviously there is some surface corrosion, but nothing too bad. You know, all the usual places that E46s are known for with their rust. You know, yes, I do have some in the wings, but it's not terrible. But underneath and in the boot lid, etc., it's all perfectly fine. Engine bay's all good. Yeah, Like, it's a really clean car that just needed a little bit of attention. And I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes it feels like it is a bit of a money pit, because we changed the front brakes first because they were awful. And I mean, the standard brakes on these M3s are not great anyway, but added to that was the fact that the calipers were really badly rusted, and the rear brakes had seized anyway, so they needed to be changed. So I went OEM on the back and just kept it nice and simple, but on the fronts I went with an AP setup, and they have transformed the car. This is, of the cars I own at least, this is my favourite car to just go out for and just give it a blast, mostly because the brakes just give you so much confidence in corners, etc. They are honestly so good. And I believe that it's the same setup that you'll find on a lot of CSLs. So one of the primary things that CSL owners will change is the brakes, because again, the brakes on that are not great, and they usually go for this AP setup. So if you saw Harry's Garage video on the manual conversion CSL, it has the same brakes as that car. So yeah, really good. So we started with those, and that wasn't cheap, but it needed to be done. Also changed the brake lines. The rear brake lines still need to be done, but that's a different story. Did those, then we moved on to the Vanos, had the Vanos rebuilt. A few other things have gone, like the battery, no big deal. The washer jet for the front windscreen's gone. I need to get that replaced, so I'm not going to do it now because I can see, but if it ever gets a little bit dirty, I have to kind of wind down the window and just like use a squirty bottle of water and just like squirt, and then use the wipers. Yeah, you get by how you can. So then obviously the bearings, I've paid for the bearings, they just haven't come yet, so we need to get those fit. And then once that's done, I need to then address the SMG, because in this car it's meant to change automatically. Now, I have questioned a few times if it's me doing something wrong, but the car does not change on its own. And I was told by another M3 owner, oh, you still need to blip the accelerator if you want it to change. Well, we're in second now, we're at 3,000 revs. If I blip, you can see that nothing happens. Oh, look, there's a Focus speeding around the corner. Tit. So I have to drive it manually. So again, if you've watched videos on these, you'll know that in order to get the smoothest gear change, you still need to blip the accelerator when you change. But that doesn't bother me. I don't want the car to be a full auto. I just don't want anything in the SMG to deteriorate any further if there is something wrong, which is preventing the car from changing on its own. So I'm going to move on to that next. And then I am also considering a carbon airbox. I just can't decide between the carbon? I can't remember the name. That or the Evolve one. I'll probably go with the Evolve one. It just makes sense. Because the car, another car of mine will be having work done there soon, so it just probably makes sense. And then I'm in two minds about changing the exhaust, because I know with these, some people really like the rasp and other people's really dislike it. I have considered a Super Sprint exhaust because they do sound good, but then my only worry is, is the car beyond that now? And I know that sounds a bit weird, but what I mean by that is, you got to think, when these were, you know, back in kind of 2005, 2006, you know, whenever, when people were buying these as the car to do up, that was one of the things you did, right? Kind of like what RS3 owners do now, is you change the exhaust. Now, I'm not so fussed about this being quick or, you know, any of that. Like, to me, it's just an old, cool BMW, and I don't know if I want to change the exhaust, because then I'm worried that I'm kind of changing the car from what it should be. You know, should it just be kept standard? I don't know. I just don't know. And it still sounds great. I mean, we're not in sport at the moment. Now we're in sport. it still has a great sound to it. I actually like the rasp as well. So I don't know, we'll see where I get to on that. And then in April it goes into the body shop because it needs to have those spots of rust that I mentioned. Those need to be sorted out, and then there's a dent in the passenger door as well that I also just want to get pulled out, and then it needs new trim and badges all round, and that will probably be it. I will then, well, I've been saying to myself that I'm going to keep the car because, you know, I love it so much. But one of the things that I've noticed, which has been a little hard to ignore, is the prices. Because since I've bought this car, the money in them's just gone up and up and up. And the CSLs are back up to kind of 100k mark now for a clean one, which means that the regular M3s will slowly come up with them. As people look at CSL prices and go, Jesus, I can't justify that, or I can't quite afford that, they'll then look to E46s and potentially want clean cars. And, you know, there are already cars out there, clean examples, low mileage cars that are collecting, you know, a pretty hefty premium. They're up to kind of 35k in some cases. I was looking at a Laguna Seca blue manual car that was 36. Which means that for the middle mileage cars like mine, you know, we could be looking at kind of 20 to 25k, and based on what I paid for this car, in that sort of money would be hard to walk away from. So I'm gonna basically give myself until summer and see what the prices are doing on them to decide whether or not to keep it, because yeah, you know, it's all about the money at the end of the day, and these are meant to be kind of investments. So let's see. And if the prices stay the same, around the same, then I'll probably keep it for a, you know, a bit longer, and then look to plan in some road trips, try and go a bit further. Now that was either one of my tyres or someone shooting. It was someone shooting, fine. Get a lot of people shooting birds around here, unfortunately. Because with the mileage of my car, it's low enough to be used, but not extremely high. So it kind of puts it in a good place in the market, I think, because if someone were to buy this car, they wouldn't necessarily need to worry about keeping it, you know, showroom ready as an investment. You know, like the Laguna Seca blue car, I think it was on like 20,000 miles, something like that. Realistically, you're probably not going to drive it if you're buying it as an investment, because you're not going to want to lose money on it, sort of thing. So yeah, let's see. Like I said, I didn't buy it, you know, I kind of bought it for that reason, but the more I've driven it, the less likely that is going to be the case that I actually sell it. So yeah, let's see. Just do a quick UE. It also just looks great. Like, you will have noticed from the B-roll and the photos that at the moment I'm not running a front plate on this car, and I've been holding out for as long as I can not to. Now I do have the front plate and I do attach it sometimes, but every now and again it falls off. So I thought, rather than it falling off and potentially, you know, harming anyone, I'll just keep it with me. But it does look great without the front plate. And, you know, I say I don't care about it being quick, but it is still, you know, it still gets around, you know? It still gets around. Like, we're on Pilot Sport 4S's, so obviously that helps with a bit of extra grip. Although, it will go if you want it to. Had a few hairy moments on the way to Caffeine and Machine this morning. But the other thing about this car is the amount of attention it gets. So, you know, I have the brightly coloured cars. I have my RS3, I have my S3. Obviously the S3 turns heads because it's yellow, but this is silver, and it's crazy the amount of attention it gets. You know, I drove this into London a few weeks ago because I went to my office, and I am not exaggerating. I may as well have been driving like a Veyron down Regent Street, because so many people were pointing this car out, and they're building a Rosewood hotel on Grosvenor Square, and all of the builders there were just like, oh yeah, that's beautiful, oh my god, that's a great car, blah 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 blah, you know. And I'm surrounded by, you know, G63s and Ferraris and all that shit, and you know, this is getting the attention it does. It's crazy how, I mean, I know these cars have a bit of a cult following, but you know, all these years later they still look so timeless. You know, like BMW really nailed the design of this car. Yeah, but before I wrap this video up, I will say that the GAE2 M4 is starting to grow on me. Now, I always leaned toward the GAE just because of those rear arches, you know, a bit more of a stance to it, but the M4s are starting to grow on me, and I think with a little bit of oh god, the sun, with a little bit of modification, i.e. lower it, get some spacers on it, the stance on them, oh, nice. So they are growing on me, especially now the X-Drive car as well. I think I'd want the X-Drive because I'd want that extra stability, and plus if I was to buy an M4 or M3, I would be buying it as a car that I could use for longer trips if I needed to go back into Europe, etc. Kind of like what I used my RS3 for. So yeah, they do look good. They are growing on me. But that's going to be it, guys. This was just an update, just a bit of a Sunday afternoon blast. Well, not really a blast, but just a Sunday afternoon drive. I thought some of you might be interested to know what's happening with this. So let me know if you've got any questions about it. Let me know what you think of it, and any of the points I made in terms of the exhaust, etc. If you've got any ideas, I'm all open. And if anyone owns a manual E46 M3 that they would be happy for me to drive, please get in touch, because I'm really intrigued by how different the cars are. I want to know how different a manual car is. That's going to be it, guys. I hope you all have a great one. Enjoy some of this weather whilst it lasts, and until the next one, peace.